We need to get out now.
Hold on, I'm trying.
I'm stuck in an elevator for 48 hours with my billionaire boss who never noticed me before, and it all started with a lurch. A horrible, stomach-dropping groan of metal that felt like the world was ending. Then, a sudden stop. The kind of stop that throws you forward, making you stumble. My hand flew out, finding the cold metal wall to keep from falling directly into Darius King's chest. His actual chest. The lights flickered once, twice, then went out completely. A tiny, terrified sound escaped my throat. Darkness swallowed us. A thick, heavy blackness that felt like a blanket pressed over my face. For a full 10 seconds, the only sound was our breathing. My shallow, panicked gasps. Mal's slow, deliberate inhales. And Mr. King's sharp, annoyed sigh. Then, the emergency lights kicked on. A pale, sickly yellow glow filled the small space, making everyone look like ghosts. My heart was a drum against my ribs. I snatched my hand back from the wall, as if it were on fire. "Fantastic," a low voice muttered. Darius King. He wasn't looking at me or Mal. He was staring up at the ceiling of the elevator as if he could force it to move with his glare alone. He pulled out his phone, his thumbs swiping uselessly at the screen. No service. Of course there was no service. We were in the express executive elevator, a metal box encased in concrete and steel, somewhere between the 40th and 41st floors of his building. The call button? Mal asked, her voice calm. She was always the calm one. She stepped forward, her dark braids swinging, and pressed the small button with the phone icon. Nothing. She pressed it again, harder this time. Silence. She looked at me, her deep brown eyes giving me a look that said, "Don't you dare freak out, Zora." It was too late. I was already freaking out. My brain was a fizzy mess of pure terror. This could not be happening. Not on a Friday. Not at 7 o'clock at night. And definitely not with him. Darius King. The man who owned the company, the building, and probably half the city. The man whose picture was on magazine covers. The man who had never, not once, looked me in the eye in the 2 years I'd worked for him. To him, I was just a name on a spreadsheet, if that. A ghost in the data analytics department. Now, I was a ghost trapped in a box with him. Hey, my friend, hope you're doing well. Drop a comment and let me know how you're feeling about this story so far and where you are watching from. Some stories are too close to my heart to share on YouTube. I send those, along with little life lessons and surprises, to my email circle. If you'd like to be part of it, you can join with the link in the description. Mr. King let out another frustrated sound and began pacing. The elevator was not built for pacing. It was 2 steps one way, 2 steps the other. He was all sharp angles and restless energy, a lion trapped in a dog crate. I tried to make myself smaller, pressing my back against the wall, wishing I could melt into the polished wood. I was painfully aware of my simple dress and the worn-out bag clutched in my hands. He was in a perfectly tailored suit that probably cost more than my car. "No one is going to be in the executive offices until Monday morning," he said, more to himself than to us. The words landed in the silent car like stones. Monday. My blood ran cold. Today was Friday. That was more than 48 hours. Security. Mal challenged, crossing her arms. She was never afraid of anyone, not even him. "Don't you have people who watch the cameras?" The weekend crew is a skeleton staff. They monitor the main lobby and the entrances. "No one watches the Executive Express," he shot back, his voice tight with irritation. He finally stopped pacing and looked at us. Properly looked at us. His eyes, a startlingly clear blue, swept over Mal, and then they landed on me. I froze. My entire body went rigid. It was like being seen by a predator. I was sure he could see the wild panic in my eyes, the way my hands were trembling. I expected him to look away, to dismiss me like he always did. But he didn't. His gaze lingered for a second too long, a flicker of something unreadable in his expression before he turned away and started examining the edges of the elevator doors, as if he could pry them open with his bare hands. "Well, this is cozy," Mal muttered under her breath. "Just for me." I gave a weak, shaky nod. Cozy was not the word I would use. Suffocating, maybe.
Terrifying. Mortifying.
I clutched the large folder in my hands. It held the quarterly projections he'd asked my department for. The reason I was here so late. I'd been rehearsing what I'd say if I ran into him all week. Something smart and professional. Now, I couldn't even remember my own name. The minutes stretched into an hour. The initial adrenaline faded, replaced by a heavy, awkward dread. Mr. King had given up trying to escape and was now leaning in a corner, his jaw tight, staring at nothing. Mal had slid down to the floor, her back against the wall, scrolling through the photos on her phone to pass the time. I remained standing, frozen in my spot, too nervous to move. He must have felt me staring. His head snapped up and his eyes met mine again. "You're from analytics, right?" he asked. His voice made me jump. I nodded, my throat too dry to speak. "Zora Mills," Mal supplied for me, giving me a gentle nudge with her foot. "She's the one who built the new forecasting model." He didn't react. He just kept looking at me. I felt my cheeks grow hot. He probably thought the model was garbage. He probably thought I was an idiot who couldn't even speak in a full sentence.
This was a disaster.
A career-ending, life-ruining disaster. I wanted to disappear. Then he did something strange. He pushed himself off the wall and fished a set of keys from his pocket. He wasn't looking at the keys, but at the keychain attached to them. It was a small, worn plastic spaceman, the kind you'd get from a vending machine. The paint was chipped, and one of its little arms was missing. It looked ancient and childish and completely out of place with the powerful man holding it. He flipped it over in his fingers, his thumb rubbing the worn plastic. It was such a small, human gesture. It didn't fit the image of the cold billionaire at all. I must have been staring, because Mal cleared her throat. "So," she said loudly, to break the silence. "Anyone got any snacks?" That broke the spell. Mr. King pocketed the keys, his mask of cool authority back in place. But I couldn't forget what I saw. The tiny spaceman. The small crack in the perfect facade. The hours crawled by. The pale yellow light hummed. My legs ached from standing. Finally, I slid to the floor next to Mal. She leaned her head on my shoulder. "He's not as scary up close," she whispered. "Just annoyed." "He hates me," I whispered back. "He thinks my projections are wrong." "Zora, trust me," she said, her voice soft but firm. "He is not thinking about your projections right now." I followed her gaze. Darius King was staring at the folder I still had clutched in my lap. I thought he was looking at the King Enterprises logo on the front. I thought he was calculating profit margins and lost time. I hugged it closer, a pathetic shield. The silence returned, heavier than before. It felt like we were the only 3 people left in the world. Then, his voice cut through the quiet, low and direct. "Ms. Mills." I flinched.
He was talking to me.
I looked up slowly. He had moved and was now leaning against the wall opposite us. He wasn't looking at my folder anymore.
He was looking right at me.
"That projection model for the solar initiative," he said, his voice completely flat. "It was off. By 0.2%. My world stopped. He knew. He knew the project.
He knew my name.
My heart didn't just sink. It plunged into a black hole. This was it. I was getting fired. In an elevator. He pushed himself off the wall and took a step closer, his shadow falling over me. "I ran the numbers myself last night," he continued, his blue eyes pinning me in place. "I fixed it." I felt the air leave my lungs in a silent rush. He fixed it. My model. The one I'd spent months on. The one I'd triple-checked until my eyes burned. The shame was a hot wave, crawling up my neck and flooding my face. Of course he'd found a mistake. I was just a ghost in the machine, and he was the one who'd built the whole thing. All the fear and anxiety of the past few hours curdled into a single, hard knot of failure in my stomach. But before I could wither into a puddle of embarrassment, Mal spoke. Her voice was sharp, cutting through the heavy air. "Fixed it," she repeated, her tone dripping with disbelief. She shifted, moving to sit up straighter, a silent protector. You mean you found a rounding error in the most complex forecasting model this company has ever seen, and you're bringing it up now? Darius King didn't even look at her. His eyes were still locked on me. They weren't angry. They were intense. Searching. It wasn't a rounding error, he said, his voice low and even. The model was perfect. Too perfect. It projected a success rate that seemed impossible. He paused, and I held my breath. The 0.2% wasn't your mistake, Ms. Mills. It was a variable you couldn't have known about. A confidential materials agreement that's still under seal. I added it. Your work, it was flawless. Flawless. The word echoed in the small space. It didn't feel real. He thought my work was flawless. He had looked at it himself, not to find a flaw, but because he was impressed. The knot in my stomach didn't disappear, but it loosened, changing from dread into something fluttery and strange. Oh, was all I could manage to say. It was a pathetic little puff of air.
Males norted softly beside me.
Well then, maybe lead with that next time, she muttered. A strange, small smile touched the corner of Darius's mouth. It was gone in a second, but I saw it. I'll take that under advisement, Miss Johnson. He finally looked away from me and returned to his corner, the brief moment of connection severed. But something had changed. The air felt different. Thinner. I could breathe again. We fell into a new kind of quiet. Not the awkward, terrified silence from before, but something softer, more thoughtful. Hours crept by. Night settled outside our metal prison. My stomach rumbled, a loud, mortifying growl in the stillness. Mal sighed dramatically and started rummaging through her oversized tote bag. Okay, rations time. She pulled out a half-eaten bag of almonds, a squashed protein bar, and a single, slightly bruised apple. She laid them out on the floor between us like a sad little feast. Don't everybody jump at once. Darius looked over, raising an eyebrow. He reached into the sleek leather briefcase at his feet and pulled out 2 bottles of expensive-looking water and a small, neat box of gourmet crackers. He slid 1 water bottle across the floor to us without a word. We shared the food in near silence, the crinkle of wrappers and the crunch of almonds feeling impossibly loud. It felt strangely normal. 3 coworkers sharing a late-night snack. Except we were trapped, suspended 40 stories in the air. So, Mal said, breaking a cracker in half. The Solar Initiative. Why that? You could be investing in anything. It was a bold question, but Mal was always bold. I expected a corporate answer. Something about market trends or public relations. Instead, Darius was quiet for a long moment. He pulled the keys from his pocket again, his thumb automatically finding the little plastic spaceman. My older brother, Leo, he loved space, Darius said, his voice softer than I'd ever heard it. He wanted to be an astronaut. He used to say the sun was the only engine we'd ever really need. That it was selfish to keep drilling into the earth when we had a star right there, giving away power for free.
He looked down at the keychain.
He passed away when we were kids. This was his. My heart ached. Suddenly, he wasn't Darius King, the billionaire titan of industry. He was just a man holding a cheap plastic toy that meant the world to him. He was a little brother who missed his big brother.
I'm sorry, he whispered.
He just nodded, putting the keys away. He would have liked what you're doing, he said, looking at me. Taking his big ideas and making them real, with numbers. My throat felt tight. My dad was an engineer, I found myself saying, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. He loved puzzles. He used to say numbers were the most honest things in the world. They don't have opinions. They just are. I clutched my folder a little tighter. He always wanted to build things that helped people. He never got the chance. For the first time, I felt like a real person in front of him. Not an employee. Not an analyst. Just Zora. And he was just Darius. And Mal was Mal, the friend who held everything together. In the pale emergency light of that elevator, we were equals. The energy shifted. We started talking. Really talking. About bad movies, first jobs, the best pizza in the city. Mal told a hilarious story about a disastrous marketing campaign involving a live mascot that escaped. I even told one about accidentally dyeing my hair orange in high school. And Darius, he laughed. A real, deep laugh that reached his eyes. It completely transformed his face, erasing the hard lines and the constant tension. It was a beautiful sound. I felt a dangerous warmth spreading through my chest. A little flicker of hope. Maybe this was a beginning. As the exhaustion of the long night set in, our conversation drifted back to work. But it was different now. It was collaborative. Easy. The problem isn't the technology, Darius said, rubbing his eyes. It's the rollout. People are scared of the cost, the installation, the commitment. And that's when it hit me. An idea that had been bouncing around the back of my mind for weeks. Something I was always too scared to bring up. It wasn't just about numbers. It was a whole new way of looking at the project. What if you don't sell it to them? I said, my voice barely a whisper. Everyone looked at me. I took a deep breath, emboldened by the strange intimacy of our tiny room. I opened my folder. What if the company retains ownership of the panels? We install them for free. Homeowners just sign a service agreement to buy the power from us at a locked-in rate, way cheaper than the city grid. No debt, no risk for them. Just cheaper, cleaner energy. It's a subscription, not a purchase. I laid it all out. The numbers, the logistics, the marketing pitch. It was all there, the secret project I'd poured my heart into during my own time. My voice grew stronger with every word, my passion overriding my fear. Mal was staring at me, her mouth slightly open, a huge grin spreading across her face. Darius was completely still, his blue eyes fixed on me with an intensity that made my skin tingle. He didn't interrupt. He just listened. When I finished, the silence was different. It was charged, electric. Zora, he said, and the sound of my first name from his lips sent a jolt through me. That's brilliant. He stood up and started pacing again, but this time it wasn't from anger. It was pure energy. That's not just a new plan. That changes the entire game. A giddy, triumphant feeling swelled in my chest.
He saw it. He saw me.
He stopped in front of me, his expression serious. All business once again. This is incredible, Mills.
Truly.
Get a full proposal on my desk Monday morning. My heart soared. I'll present it to the board as a new C-level initiative first thing next week. And just like that, the air froze. I'll present it. Not we'll present it. Not you'll present it.
I'll.
The word hung in the air, cold and sharp. The warmth from the last few hours vanished, sucked out of the elevator like a vacuum. The walls felt like they were closing in again. He wasn't Darius anymore. He was Mr. King. And I was just Mills from analytics. The ghost who'd given him a brilliant idea to call his own. I looked over at Mal. Her proud smile was gone, replaced by a hard, protective glare aimed right at our boss. The fragile bridge we had built over the last day had just crumbled into dust. And I was left on the wrong side, clutching a folder full of my own ideas that were no longer mine. The flicker of hope in my chest went out, leaving behind a cold, familiar ache. I was invisible again. My stomach twisted into a tight, sour knot. The words, "I'll present it," echoed in the small space, erasing every good feeling, every moment of connection we had shared. It felt like a punch, swift and silent. He had listened, he had understood, and then he had simply taken it. The warmth in my chest turned to ice. I could feel Mal's anger radiating beside me, a protective heat against my arm. She was a lioness ready to spring, but I was just frozen. Back in my box. "Excuse me?" Mal's voice was dangerously quiet. It was the voice she used right before she destroyed someone in a meeting. "I think you misspoke. You meant Zora will present her idea, right?" Darius finally turned his gaze from me to her. His face was a mask of cool control, the brief warmth from earlier completely gone. "No," he said, his tone leaving no room for argument. "I meant what I said. I'll present it." Something inside me snapped. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was a quiet, firm click, like a lock finally finding its place. All the years of feeling invisible, of working twice as hard for half the recognition, of being too scared to speak up. It all boiled over. It wasn't just about a project anymore. It was about my father's dream. It was about my own worth. I pushed myself to my feet, my legs shaking slightly. The folder felt heavy in my hands, filled with my work, my hopes. "No," I said. My voice was small, but it didn't tremble. "You won't." Darius King looked surprised. It was the first time I had ever seen him look anything other than completely in command. His blue eyes narrowed, focusing on me with a new kind of intensity. "Ms. Mills," he started. "It's my idea," I said, taking a step forward. My heart hammered against my ribs, but I didn't back down. "It's built on my model. It's my work. The numbers are mine. The concept is mine. You can't just take it." "I'm not taking it," he said, his voice hard. "I'm making sure it succeeds. There's a difference." "By putting your name on it?" Mal scoffed, getting to her feet as well. The small elevator suddenly felt very crowded. "How noble of you." "You don't understand," he shot back, his frustration finally showing. He ran a hand through his perfectly styled hair, messing it up. "You see the board meetings on a calendar. I live in them. They're a Shark Tank. Do you have any idea what will happen if I let a junior analyst present a company-altering proposal? They'll laugh her out of the room. They'll use it as proof that I'm letting this company get soft. They'll kill the project just to make a point." He looked directly at me, and for the first time, I saw something beyond irritation in his eyes. It was desperation. "The board is split, Ms. Mills. Half of them think I'm a reckless kid who inherited a company he's going to run into the ground. My father's old friends. They hate the solar initiative. They want to stick with what they know. They're looking for any excuse to vote me out." The confession hung in the air, raw and shocking. This wasn't just about an idea. It was a power struggle for the entire company. He wasn't just a billionaire boss. He was a man fighting to keep his father's legacy from being destroyed by the very people who were supposed to protect it. "They will tear you apart," he said, his voice dropping lower. "And they will bury this idea with you. Is that what you want? For this to die in a boardroom because of pride?" I was speechless. The world I knew, spreadsheets, datasets, quiet cubicles, was a tiny island. He was describing a whole other continent, full of monsters I'd never imagined. I thought the fight was about getting noticed. He was in a fight for survival. The anger in my chest cooled, replaced by a confusing swirl of fear and sympathy. Mal was still skeptical. "So you become the hero, and she stays the ghost? That's your solution?" "No," Darius said, turning back to me. His eyes were pleading now. "That's my only option. But it doesn't end there." He took a step closer, closing the small space between us. I could feel the heat coming off him. "Your idea is brilliant, but it's still rough. It needs to be perfect, unbreakable. We have, what, maybe 36 hours left in here? Help me. Help me build the presentation. Let's go through every number, every projection. Let's find every weakness and turn it into a strength. You have the details. I know how to sell it to the sharks." It was a crazy proposal. To work with the man who had just crushed my dream, in order to save it. To trust him. And what do I get? I whispered. "When you walk out of that boardroom with your victory?" "Everything," he said, without hesitation. "The second the board approves the funding, I'm announcing the formation of a new division to run it. The Subscription Energy Division. And I'm announcing its new director."
You.
"You won't be presenting it, Zora. You'll be running it. You'll have your own team, your own budget. You'll answer directly to me. No one else." My breath caught in my throat. Director. It was a title so far above my own it seemed like a dream. He was offering me a key to a door I didn't even know existed. But it came at a price. I had to trust him. I had to stay invisible just a little while longer so that I could finally be seen. I looked at Mal. Her expression was complicated. The protective anger was still there, but it was mixed with a grudging respect for the corner he was in. She saw the trap, but she also saw the opportunity. She gave me the tiniest, almost imperceptible nod. "It's your call." I looked back at Darius. He wasn't Mr. King anymore. He was a partner. A desperate, cornered, brilliant partner. And in his eyes, I saw a reflection of my own ambition. "Okay," I said, my voice clear and steady. "Let's get to work." A wave of relief washed over his face. It was so profound it made him look younger. "Okay," he breathed. The tension in the elevator didn't disappear. It transformed. The awkwardness and anger were burned away, leaving behind a humming, focused energy. He immediately loosened his tie and pulled it off, tossing it into his briefcase. He unbuttoned his top button and rolled up his sleeves. The change was instant. The CEO was gone. The fighter was here. "Spread it out," he said, gesturing to the floor. I knelt and opened my folder, laying the papers out on the clean, polished surface. Projections, charts, market analyses. My whole world spread out between us. He dropped to his knees opposite me, his suit pants creasing, and leaned in. The elevator felt less like a prison and more like a command center. Mal sat back against the wall, a silent guardian, watching us. For the next several hours, we worked. He challenged every assumption. I defended every number. We argued. We brainstormed. We built. He saw the big picture, the political angles, the way to frame the story. I knew the bones of it, the mathematical truth that held it all together. It was like two halves of a brain that had never met suddenly clicking together. The pale emergency light shone down on my papers, on his intense face, on our hands nearly touching as we pointed to the same chart. And somewhere in the middle of all that work, a new spark ignited. It wasn't just about a project. It was about him seeing my mind and me seeing his. And in the silent, suspended world of our metal box, it felt like the most real connection I had ever made. The world shrank to the size of my spreadsheets. Hours melted away. My back ached from kneeling on the hard floor. My voice grew hoarse from debating projected growth rates, but I had never felt more alive. Darius was relentless. He poked holes in my logic, not to be cruel, but to make it stronger. He was building a fortress around my idea, and he'd handed me the blueprints. We were a team. I would explain a complex data point, and he would immediately rephrase it into a powerful, simple sentence for the board. He spoke their language. I spoke the language of truth. Together, it felt like we could convince the world. Mal watched us from her corner, a small, knowing smile on her face. She would occasionally chime in with a killer marketing angle, a single sentence that was sharper than any of my charts. She passed us the last of the almonds, and when Darius and I both reached for the last bottle of water at the same time, our fingers brushed. A jolt, small but electric, shot up my arm. I pulled my hand back as if I'd been burned. He met my eyes, and for a split second, the numbers and projections faded away. It was just us, in the pale yellow light, and the air was thick with something unspoken. He cleared his throat and pushed the water towards me. "You first," he murmured, his voice a little rough. "You're the engine here." My heart did a stupid little flip. I took a small sip, incredibly aware of his gaze on me. The intimacy of the moment was overwhelming. We were closer than we had been all weekend, our knees almost touching, our entire shared future laid out on the floor between us. Then the lights flickered. It was a violent shudder of light, plunging us into total blackness for a full second before sputtering back on. My breath hitched. The steady, low hum of the emergency systems faltered, groaning like a tired old man. "No," Mal said, her voice tight.
No, no, no.
The lights flickered again, longer this time. The darkness was absolute. A thick, suffocating blanket that pressed in from all sides. A primal fear, cold and sharp, seized me. I hated the dark. Truly, deeply hated it. A tiny gasp escaped my lips, and I couldn't stop my hands from trembling. "It's just the backup generator switching power cycles." Darius's voice came out of the blackness, calm and close. I hadn't realized he'd moved. A warm, solid hand covered mine where it rested on the floor. His touch was firm, steadying. "It'll hold. Just breathe." I focused on the feeling of his hand on mine. the warmth of his skin against my cold fingers. I took a shaky breath, then another. He didn't let go. The lights flickered back on, weak and unsteady, but they stayed. He slowly pulled his hand away, but the warmth lingered. My fear receded, replaced by a dizzying awareness of him, of his quiet act of comfort. And that's when we heard it. A clanging sound from far above us. Metal on metal. Then voices. Muffled, but definitely voices. Hope erupted in my chest, fierce and bright. "Did you hear that?" I whispered, scrambling to my feet. "Rescue," Mal breathed, a huge smile breaking across her face. Finally, Darius was on his feet in an instant, his head tilted, listening. The clanging came again, closer this time, followed by a man's shout. We all started gathering our things in a frantic, joyful rush. I stacked my papers, my hands fumbling with excitement. The spell was breaking. The real world was coming back. For a second, a pang of regret hit me. This strange, intense bubble we had created was about to pop. I looked at Darius. He was already putting his tie back on, becoming Mr. King again. The brief connection we'd had felt like a dream I was waking up from. He caught my eye and gave me a small, almost regretful smile. "Get ready to be a director, Zora," he said softly. The shouting from above grew louder, clearer. Then a loud, final thud. And then silence. We waited. 1 minute.
5, 10.
The silence stretched, becoming heavy and suffocating. The hope that had filled the elevator just moments before slowly drained away, leaving a cold, hollow dread in its place. The noises weren't for us, or they had given up. The brief taste of freedom made the reality of our situation 100 times worse. We weren't getting out. I sank back to the floor, the folder of my life's best work feeling like a lead weight in my lap. Mal cursed under her breath, a string of sharp, angry words. Darius stood perfectly still, his back to us, staring at the elevator doors as if he could melt them. The fragile hope we'd shared had shattered, and the pieces were sharp. "This is insane," Mal said, her voice shaking with frustration. "There has to be another way. A maintenance line, an override. Something." "There isn't," Darius said, his voice flat. He didn't turn around. "I don't believe you," Mal shot back. And I knew she was right. There was always a failsafe for a man like him. Always. As if on cue, a faint blue light glowed from his pocket. A single, silent notification on his phone screen before it went dark again. My blood ran cold. He'd said there was no service. He had checked it right at the beginning. Mal saw it too. She stood up, her eyes narrowed. "No service, huh?" she said, her voice dripping with accusation. "Your phone seems to disagree." Darius turned around slowly. The mask was back, but this time I could see the cracks. He looked tired.
Trapped.
"It's a satellite phone," he admitted, his voice low. "It works anywhere." The air went still.
A lie.
A huge, glaring lie from the very beginning. My mind reeled.
Why?
Why would he let us sit here, terrified and hopeless, when he had a way to call for help the entire time? The work we did, the connection I thought we'd made, was it all based on a lie? A manipulation? "You've had a working phone this whole time?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. The sense of betrayal was a physical pain in my chest. "And you didn't use it?" Mal's voice was a blade. "We've been in here for over a day. We could have been out hours ago. What is wrong with you?" "It's not that simple," he said, his jaw tight. "Make it simple for us," I insisted, finding my voice. The hurt was quickly turning to anger. He finally looked at me, and his eyes were full of a desperate conflict that almost made me feel sorry for him. Almost. "The phone has one number pre-programmed into it. A direct line to my head of security, Walter Vance." "So call him," Mal exclaimed. "Walter Vance is my father's oldest friend," Darius said, the words tasting like poison in his mouth. "He's the one leading the faction on the board that wants me out. He thinks I'm a child who is destroying his friend's legacy with foolish gambles like solar energy. Calling him for help from a stuck elevator, it's handing him the gun he needs to shoot me. He would use it as proof that I'm incompetent. that I can't even manage my own building, let alone a global corporation. He would leak it to the press. The story would be out before we were. My leadership would be finished. The vote would be a formality. He took a breath, the weight of his confession pressing down on us. He would kill the solar initiative just to spite me. Your project, Zora, would be dead. Everything we just worked on would be for nothing. He had been playing a game of chicken, gambling our comfort and safety against his entire future. Against my future. I understood the logic. I saw the impossible choice he was facing. But understanding didn't make the cold knot of betrayal in my stomach go away. He hadn't trusted us. He had made a choice for us, without us. The work, the shared vulnerability, the hand on mine in the dark, it all felt tainted now. The elevator wasn't a command center anymore. It was a cage. And he had been holding the key the whole time. The silence that fell was the worst yet. It was the sound of broken trust. The silence was a weapon. It was sharp and cold, wielded by Mal's furious stare and my own stunned hurt. Darius stood there, the weight of his confession making him seem smaller, his desperation a raw wound. He hadn't just lied. He had stolen our hope and kept it in his pocket. He had watched me panic, watched Mal stay calm for my sake, and said nothing. "So you gambled with us," I said, the words tasting like ash. "You just rolled the dice, hoping we wouldn't break before you won your boardroom game." "I gambled on you," he said, his voice low and intense. He took a step toward me, his eyes pleading. "I saw your work, Zora. I saw what you were capable of. When I realized you were in here with me, I saw an opportunity. A terrible, selfish opportunity, yes. But it was the only path I could see to save the project. To save everything my brother believed in." He looked at my folder, then back at me. "It was a terrible choice. But I made it to protect your idea. Because it's the most important idea this company has seen in a decade. I'm sorry I didn't tell you. I was wrong. But my reason was right." His apology wasn't perfect. It was tangled up in his own ambition and fear. But it was real. I could see it in the tightness of his jaw, in the exhaustion in his eyes. He wasn't just a boss protecting his company. He was a brother trying to protect a legacy. He was a man who saw my work, saw me, and was willing to risk everything for it. Mal let out a sharp, disbelieving laugh. "Oh, please. Don't fall for that, Zora. He's feeding you a line because he needs you. He sees you as a tool to win his little war." But I wasn't looking at Mal. I was looking at Darius. I saw the man who laughed at my stupid story about orange hair. The man who held a broken plastic spaceman like it was a diamond. The man whose hand had found mine in the dark. My anger began to dissolve, replaced by a painful, complicated understanding. We were both fighting for something bigger than ourselves. Slowly, I reached out and laid my hand on his arm. His muscles were tense beneath the fine fabric of his shirt. He flinched, surprised, then looked down at my dark fingers on his fair skin. "We're wasting time," I said softly, my voice finding a strength I didn't know it had. "If we're going to win this, we need to be ready. Let's finish." Relief washed over his face, so pure and unguarded it stole my breath. He covered my hand with his own, his thumbs stroking my knuckles. "Thank you," he whispered, and the space between us vibrated with a fragile, powerful connection. It was more than just a truce.
It was a choice.
My choice. "Zora, what are you doing?" Mal's voice was sharp with betrayal. I turned to her, my hand still under Darius's.
"He's right, Mal.
This is bigger than us. It's bigger than this elevator. We have to try." "I can't believe this," she said, shaking her head. She looked at me as if I were a stranger. "After everything? After 2 years of me telling you to stand up for yourself, you're just going to roll over and help the man who lied to your face." "It's not rolling over," I said, my voice rising. "It's fighting for my work." "Is that all you're fighting for?" She shot back, her eyes flicking to our joined hands. The accusation in her gaze was a slap. She thought I was being seduced. By power, by him. That I was weak. A cold fire lit in my gut. "You don't get it." "Oh, I get it," she said, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "I get that you haven't been honest with him from the beginning either. Have you, Zora?" I froze. My blood turned to ice water. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about your perfect model," Mal said, stepping forward. Her protective warmth was gone, replaced by a chilling cruelty. She wasn't looking at me anymore. She was looking right at Darius. "You should ask her. Ask her how she got so good. Ask her who her mentor was before she ever started here." Every muscle in my body seized. This couldn't be happening. "Mel, don't," I begged, my voice a strangled whisper. But she was already talking, the words spilling out like poison. "She's not just some random analyst you discovered, Mr. King. She had help. From someone you know. Or knew." Darius slowly pulled his hand away from mine. The loss of his warmth felt like a physical blow. He turned his full attention to Mal, his face a mask of confusion. "What are you talking about?" I tried to speak, to stop her, but my throat was closed. My own secret, the one I had buried so deep for so long, was about to be ripped out into the open. "Tell him, Zora," Mal commanded, her eyes daring me. "Tell him about Leo." The name landed in the silent elevator with the force of an explosion. Darius flinched as if he'd been struck. He stared at Mal, then his gaze swung to me. His blue eyes, which had looked at me with warmth and admiration just moments ago, were now filled with a dawning, horrified disbelief. "Leo," he breathed. "My brother?" I couldn't speak. I could only nod, a single, jerky movement. The shame was a hot, suffocating wave. "Leo taught her everything," Mal continued, her voice relentless. "He was her mentor in a college outreach program. He's the reason she got the internship that led to her job here. Her forecasting model, it's based on his theories. The ones he was working on before she trailed off, letting the unspoken word hang in the air between us." Darius looked at me, his face pale, his expression completely shattered. "You knew him," he whispered. "He was my friend," I finally managed to say, the words tearing at my throat. He was the kindest person I ever met. He believed in me when no one else did." I didn't say anything because I didn't want you to think I was using his name. I wanted to earn my place here on my own. But even as I said them, the words sounded like a pathetic excuse. I had kept his brother a secret from him. I had listened to him talk about Leo, had watched him clutch that little spaceman, and I had said nothing. The entire foundation of our connection, every shared glance, every moment of understanding, had been built on a lie of omission. He hadn't just discovered a brilliant analyst. He had been interacting with a piece of his brother's hidden life. His face hardened, the vulnerability gone, replaced by a glacial coldness that was worse than any anger. The trust one had just chosen to give him was worthless. "You let me talk about him," he said, his voice flat and dead. "You let me show you his keychain." I didn't know what to do. I cried, tears finally breaking free and streaming down my face. "You did nothing," he said, the words cutting me to ribbons. "You stood there and said nothing." He turned away from me, the dismissal more absolute than if he had screamed. He walked to the farthest corner of the elevator, presenting me with his back, a solid wall of betrayal. The fragile team we had built, the partnership I had believed in, was utterly destroyed. I looked at Mal, my oldest friend, my only ally. She stood with her arms crossed, her expression hard and unforgiving. She had seen me choose him over her, and she had chosen to burn everything to the ground. In her eyes, she was saving me. In reality, she had just left me completely and utterly alone, trapped in a metal box with the ghost of a boy I missed and the ruins of a man who now hated me. The silence that followed was not empty. It was full of jagged edges and broken things. My own breathing was a ragged sound in my ears, loud and pathetic. Darius's back was a mountain range I could never cross. Mal's silence was the most terrifying of all. It was the quiet of a judge who has already passed sentence. The pale yellow light of the elevator seemed to dim, soaking up all the hope and leaving only a sickly, stagnant glow. I was a specimen under glass, my worst secret pinned and displayed for the two people who mattered most in this tiny, suffocating world. I did it for you. Mal's voice finally cut through the stillness. It was hard, defensive. Not the voice of my friend, but of a stranger justifying a betrayal. He was using you, Zora. You were so blinded by the attention. You couldn't see it. He was going to take your idea and leave you with nothing. I had to make him see you weren't just some pawn he could move around his board. I couldn't even look at her. I stared at the scuffed toe of my shoe, focusing on the tiny imperfection as the world I had built over the last 48 hours collapsed around me. You didn't save me, Mal, I whispered, the words scraping my raw throat. You buried me. My mind fled the elevator, escaping to a sunlit university library years ago. I saw Leo, not as Darius's brother, but as my Leo. He was all gangly limbs and wild, brilliant eyes, sketching solar panel configurations on a napkin. He smelled like coffee and old books. The problem isn't the science, he'd said, tapping the napkin with his pen. It's the story. People are scared of big numbers. You have to make the numbers feel like a friend, like a promise. That's your gift, Zora. You make numbers sing. He was the first person who ever saw the part of me that wasn't shy or awkward. He saw the part that could build worlds out of data. Keeping him a secret wasn't a lie. It was an attempt to protect the one pure, encouraging thing I'd ever had. I wanted to prove his faith in me was right, on my own merit, not because of his last name. Now, that memory, my most precious secret, had been twisted into a weapon and used against me. Against his own brother. A sudden movement shattered my painful memory. Darius pushed himself away from the far wall. He moved with a heavy, deliberate slowness, like a man wading through deep water.
He didn't look at me.
He didn't look at Mal. His eyes were fixed on the phone in his hand. The satellite phone. The key to our cage that he had refused to use. With a finality that made my stomach clench, he raised it. No. I breathed, scrambling to my knees. The papers of my proposal, our proposal, were scattered between us like fallen leaves. Darius, don't.
Please.
We can still fix this. We can still win. He finally looked at me then. The change in his eyes was devastating. The warmth, the intensity, the flicker of a shared dream. All gone. All that was left was a vast, empty cold. A frozen lake. Win what? He asked, his voice devoid of all emotion. There's nothing left to win. The game was over before it started.
I was just too stupid to see it.
He looked down at the mess of papers on the floor. My brother's ideas, filtered through you. He was the genius. I'm just the guy who inherited the corner office. The self-loathing in his voice was a blade in my heart. He wasn't just hurt by my lie. He felt invalidated by it. He thought this whole thing was just Leo's ghost, that he himself had brought nothing to the table. That's not true, I said, my voice desperate. Leo had the vision, but you know how to build it. You know how to fight for it. I saw you. What you saw was a fool playing king, he said, his voice flat. He pressed a button on the side of the phone, and the small screen lit up. He would have hated what this has all become. What I've become. He was sacrificing everything. His pride, his company, his fight. He was choosing to end the ordeal for a woman he now despised and her friend who had destroyed him. It was a kind of punishment for himself and for me. Please, I begged, crawling a few inches closer, as if I could physically stop him. Don't let your father's friends win. Don't let Walter win. That's not what Leo would have wanted. The mention of his brother's name made him flinch. A flicker of pain crossed his face before the ice returned, harder than before. You don't get to talk about what my brother would have wanted, he said, each word a perfectly carved shard of ice. Not anymore. He put the phone to his ear. I watched, helpless, as he surrendered. Mal stood in her corner, her arms wrapped around herself, the triumphant glint in her eyes gone, replaced by a dawning horror. This wasn't the victory she had imagined. This was a demolition. Walter, Darius said. His voice was different. Hollowed out. The voice of a son admitting defeat to an elder. It's Darius. Yes, I'm fine. A situation has come up. He paused, listening, his eyes staring blankly at the elevator door. I'm in the Executive Express. It's been stuck since Friday evening. Yes, all weekend. Another pause. I could imagine the smug satisfaction on the other end of the line. The final, I told you so. There are 2 other employees with me. Zora Mills from Analytics and Malika Johnson from Marketing. No, everyone is fine. We just need to get out. He closed his eyes, a muscle feathering in his jaw. I understand the implications, Walter.
No, you're right.
It was a serious oversight. I'll be in your office first thing Monday morning to discuss the transition. Just get us out. Transition. The word hung in the dead air. He had just handed his enemy the keys to his kingdom. He had given up. The project was dead. My career was dead. The fragile, beautiful thing we had built in the dark was gone forever. He ended the call and let the phone drop from his hand. It clattered onto the floor, loud in the crushing silence. He didn't retrieve it. He simply slid down the wall until he was sitting on the floor, his knees drawn up, his head resting back against the cold metal. He closed his eyes, and the CEO of King Enterprises vanished, leaving only a tired, defeated man who had just lost everything. The elevator felt like a tomb now. We weren't waiting for a rescue. We were waiting for the pallbearers. Mal made a small, choked sound. I didn't think he would, she started, but her voice failed her. I didn't answer. I couldn't. I looked at Darius, a man I had admired from afar, a man I had grown to see and respect up close, and all I could see was the damage I had caused. My secret hadn't protected Leo's memory. It had desecrated it, turning it into a wedge that had shattered his brother. A low rumble started, far above us. The sound of machinery, the sound of the end. Rescue was coming, and for the first time in 2 days, all I wanted was for the doors to stay closed forever. The grinding noise from above was the sound of the world ending, or maybe the sound of it starting again. I couldn't decide which was worse. It was a mechanical scream, a drill tearing through metal, and it vibrated through the floor, up my legs, and into my teeth. With every screech, my heart jumped. They were coming. They were coming to release us back into a world where everything was broken. Darius sat against the wall, a statue of defeat. Mal was huddled in her corner, her face buried in her hands, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. She had set a fire to keep me from getting burned, and now the 3 of us were left choking on the smoke. The space between us was a wasteland, littered with the ruins of trust and the ghosts of what could have been. I looked down at the papers scattered around my knees. My work, my numbers. For a second, I saw them through Darius's eyes. Not mine, but an echo of his brother. A gift from a dead genius that I had polished up and claimed as my own. The shame was a physical weight, pressing me down, telling me to curl up and accept the end. That was the old Zora, the ghost. The girl who believed she was invisible. But I had been seen in this elevator. I had been heard, and I couldn't go back. A memory of Leo flooded my mind, so clear it hurt. We were sitting on a campus bench, a stack of textbooks between us. I had just failed a major exam. I felt stupid, like an imposter who had tricked her way into the program. He didn't offer cheap comfort. He just took out a pen and drew a messy spiral on his notebook. A star isn't a perfect circle, he'd said. It's a chaotic explosion. It's messy and violent and beautiful. Your mind is like that, Zora. Don't try to make it neat. Just let it explode. He never gave me answers. He just gave me permission to find my own. He gave me the alphabet. But the words, the story, that was all me. Something clicked into place inside my chest. It was a quiet, firm decision. I wasn't an echo. I was a voice. My hands moved before my brain gave them orders. I started gathering the papers. My hands shook, but my purpose was steady. I collected every chart, every projection, and stacked them into a neat, defiant pile. Zora, stop, Mal whispered through her tears. What are you doing? It's over. I didn't look at her. I couldn't. Acknowledging her would be acknowledging the part of me that wanted to agree with her, the part that wanted to hide. Instead, I crawled across the floor and stopped in front of Darius. He didn't open his eyes. He was a million miles away, lost in his grief and failure. I placed the neat stack of my life's work on the floor before him.
You're wrong, I said.
My voice was quiet, but it didn't shake. It cut through the noise of the drill and the sound of Mal's crying. This isn't Leo's work. He taught me how to read the stars, but I'm the one who drew the map. He didn't move. He didn't even breathe. The drill above us screamed, then stopped. A heavy thump vibrated through the car, right over our heads. They were on the roof. Time was running out. You told me the board would destroy me, I said, my voice getting stronger, louder. I put my hand on his knee. I felt a tremor go through him, but he still didn't look at me. You said they would laugh me out of the room because I was a junior analyst who didn't know how to fight. You were right. The woman who walked into this elevator on Friday was terrified. She just wanted to be invisible, but she's not here anymore. He finally, slowly, opened his eyes. The frozen lake was still there, but my words were a stone, sending cracks racing across the surface. It's too late, Zora, he rasped. I surrendered. The call is made. Then fight back. The words ripped out of me, full of all the fire and frustration I had swallowed my entire life. You are Darius King. You built an empire from your father's company. You don't hand your crown to a man named Walter because you're having a bad day. You fight for what you believe in. You fight for what he believed in. The elevator lurched, a sickening drop of a few inches that sent us all sliding. Dust rained down from the ceiling panels. Above us, we heard the unmistakable sound of bolts being loosened, one by one. Bright, sharp slivers of external light pierced the dim yellow glow. It was the light of the real world, the light of the end. There's no move left, he said, his voice flat with defeat. He won. My eyes fell on the satellite phone, lying on the floor beside him.
The key.
The weapon. The source of all this pain. My choice. I could let the doors open. I could walk out, find a new job, and spend the rest of my life wondering what if. Or I could let my own star explode. I snatched the phone from the floor. Its weight felt immense in my hand. Then I'll make a move, I said, my heart hammering against my ribs. I held his gaze, channeling every ounce of courage I had. I will not let you sacrifice my work, my one chance, because you feel guilty. This project is the right thing to do, and I will not let a boardroom full of old men kill it because you lost your nerve. A bolt came free above us, and a thick ray of light cut through the elevator, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. A man's shadow fell over us. Rescue was seconds away. What are you going to do? Darius asked, his voice a whisper. He was finally seeing me. Not Leo's student. Not Mills from analytics.
Me, Zora.
My mind raced. I couldn't call Walter. Who else was there? Who had more power, more history, more right to know the truth? The answer was insane. It was terrifying. It was the only move left on the board. What is your father's number? I asked. The question stunned him into silence. Even Mal stopped crying, her head snapping up, her eyes wide with disbelief. To call the old king, the retired lion who had built the entire thing, was unthinkable. It was breaking every rule. Zora, you can't, Mal gasped. Watch me, I said, my eyes never leaving Darius's. Your fight is with Walter, but it's about your father's legacy. It's about his approval. It's time he heard what the future of his company really looks like. Not from his bitter old friend. Not from his defeated son. From the person who built it. The last bolt groaned and came free. The emergency hatch on the ceiling was pulled open with a loud scrape of metal. The bright, clean light of the hallway above flooded our dusty yellow prison. A man in a work uniform peered down. Mr. King? Can you hear me? This was it. The moment of truth. Darius looked at me, at the phone in my hand, at the fierce, terrified resolve in my eyes. And the ice didn't just crack. It shattered. The fire I had just found was reflected in his gaze, burning away the doubt and the grief. He saw the map I had drawn, and he finally saw the destination. He reached out and took the phone from my hand, his fingers closing over mine for a second. His touch was warm.
Alive.
He got to his feet in one fluid motion, pulling me up with him. He was the king again, but not a king who had inherited a throne. A king who was about to earn it. He looked up at the rescuer, his voice ringing with an authority that shook the very air in the car. "We're fine," he commanded. "Get a ladder down here. And get Walter Vance on the line. Tell him the meeting on Monday is still on." But the topic has changed. He then looked down at me, and a slow smile spread across his face. It was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. It was a promise. It was a beginning. "Tell him," Darius said, his voice dropping so only I could hear. "We're coming to present our proposal." The ladder came down like a judgment. It was yellow and metal, and it scraped against the side of the opening with a sound that made my teeth ache. The light from the hallway above was so bright it was painful, a pure white that made our little world of pale emergency lighting feel like a forgotten dream. "Ms. Mills," Darius said, his voice a low command beside me. He gestured for me to go first. It wasn't a gesture of old-fashioned manners. It was a king sending his champion into the arena. I looked at the ladder, then at him. The doubt, the fear, it was still there, a cold snake in my stomach. But now it was smaller than my purpose. I took a deep breath that smelled of dust and electricity, and I started to climb. My hands were clumsy on the rungs. My simple dress was not made for this. But with each step up, I felt like I was shedding a skin. I was climbing out of the box they had put me in, the box I had put myself in. I was climbing out of the ghost shadow. When my head cleared the opening, the world rushed in. It was the 40th floor hallway, sterile and silent, but it felt as vast as a desert. A handful of uniformed security guards stood back, their faces a mixture of curiosity and awe. And standing in front of them, his arms crossed, was a man with gray hair and a face carved from disapproval. Walter Vance. His eyes immediately found Darius, who was climbing right behind me. Walter's expression was one of cold, smug victory. He was looking at the defeated boy he had always expected to see. Darius's hand was on my back, helping me the last step onto the solid floor. I stumbled, and his grip steadied me. We stood there, blinking in the harsh light, two survivors of a wreck. Mal came up last, her face blotchy and tear-stained, avoiding everyone's eyes. "Darius," Walter said, his voice like gravel. "An unfortunate situation. Your father will be very disappointed. We'll handle the internal communications. For now, you should all go home." It was a dismissal. He was treating his boss like a child who had made a mess. "The situation is resolved, Walter," Darius said, his voice calm and clear, ringing with a new power. "But we're not going home. We have a presentation to make." Walter actually laughed a short, ugly bark. "A presentation? Don't be ridiculous. You need to focus on damage control." He looked at me for the first time, his eyes sweeping over my rumpled dress and tired face with complete contempt. "You've been through enough." "She's right," Mal said suddenly, stepping forward. Her voice was rough, but it was strong. She looked directly at Walter. "We haven't been through enough. We're just getting started." It was her apology to me, spoken not in a whisper, but as a shout. Darius smiled, a small, dangerous smile. He looked at the guards, at the maintenance crew who had opened the hatch at Walter. He had his audience. This company was built on a single idea, power to the people, he began, his voice filling the hallway. "My father built generators that lit up cities.
But the world has changed.
The old ways are not enough. We have a star next door, giving away energy for free, and we have been too afraid, too stubborn, to simply take it." He turned and looked at me, and in that one look, he handed me the entire world. I didn't see the way forward. Not clearly. But the architect of our future was here all along. Her name is Zora Mills, and this is her plan. My heart stopped, then started again with a powerful thud. He had called me an architect. All eyes turned to me. Walter's face was a mask of disbelief. The snake of fear in my stomach coiled, but I thought of Leo drawing a messy star on a napkin. I thought of his belief in me. I met Walter's gaze, and I began to speak. The problem with solar isn't the technology, I said, my voice clear and steady. The hallway acoustics carried every word. It's the price. It's the fear. We've been trying to sell people a product when we should be offering them a service. I laid it all out, without a single paper in my hand. I used simple words, the way my father used to explain engineering to me as a child. I talked about families, not profit margins. I talked about lower bills, not market shares. I painted a picture of a world where cleaner, cheaper power wasn't a luxury for the rich, but a right for everyone. The guards were leaning in, listening. The maintenance crew was nodding. This wasn't a corporate proposal. It was a promise. This is sentimental nonsense. Walter snapped, cutting me off. Your brother tried to push this fantasy on your father for years, Darius. These are the same childish dreams that went nowhere. They are a waste of capital and a distraction from our core business. I won't let you bankrupt this company chasing your brother's ghost. The air went cold. He had used Leo against him just as Mal had. But this time I was ready. This time I had the truth. You're right, I said quietly. Walter looked triumphant. Darius looked wounded. But I wasn't finished. Leo did have this dream. He gave me the vision. I reached into the folder. I was still clutching, my hand going past all the spreadsheets and charts. I pulled out a single, fragile piece of paper. It was old, softened by time. The ink slightly faded. A cocktail napkin. On it was a messy, chaotic drawing of a star, surrounded by Leo's familiar handwriting. I held it up. He gave me this, I said. The dream. But he knew it was incomplete. He told me the numbers had to sing a new song. A song he hadn't figured out how to write yet. I then pulled out a single sheet of paper for my proposal. The master chart. The one that showed the subscription model. The one where all the lines went up and to the right, showing profit for the company and savings for the customer. I held it next to the napkin. I wrote the song, I said. I didn't follow his ghost, Mr. Vance. I finished his work. This isn't about the past. This is the future he saw, finally made real. The hallway was completely silent. The napkin and the chart, side by side, were undeniable. They were a story of legacy not inherited, but earned. Of a promise, finally fulfilled. Walter stared at the two pieces of paper, his face slack, his argument crumbling into dust. He had no words. He had been so focused on fighting the ghost of his friend's son, he never saw the living woman right in front of him, the one who held the key to it all. Darius stepped forward, standing beside me. He didn't look at Walter. He looked at the faces of his employees, the people who kept his building running. This is the new King Enterprises, he said, his voice full of a pride that made my heart swell. And Director Mills will be leading the way. It was over. We had won. Not in a boardroom, but in a hallway surrounded by the real people our work would help. Later, after Walter had gone, after the security guards were back at their posts, the three of us stood alone in the quiet hallway. Mal looked at me, her eyes full of a shame so deep I could feel it. Zora, I know, I said, and I did. I knew her fear, her anger, her twisted way of trying to protect me. It was broken, but it wasn't gone. We'll talk later. She gave me a watery, grateful smile and walked away, giving us space. Darius and I were left standing under the bright, clean lights. The exhaustion of the last 2 days washed over me, but it was a good kind of tired. The kind that comes after you've fought the most important battle of your life. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his keys. He didn't look at them. He looked at me. With a gentle motion, he worked the little plastic spaceman off the key ring. The pane was chipped, and the plastic was worn smooth from years of being held. He pressed it into my palm. I think, he said, his voice thick with emotion, he would have wanted his partner to have this. My fingers closed around the small, worn toy. It was warm from his pocket. It felt like a promise, like a piece of a star. I looked up at him, at his clear blue eyes, and I saw not a boss, not a billionaire, but a man who had been through a chaotic explosion and had come out the other side, shining. And I knew, with a certainty that filled every part of me, that I had too. We weren't just a director and a CEO. We were partners. And we were just getting started. The little plastic spaceman felt heavy in my hand, a strange and precious weight. The hallway was empty now except for us, the bright overhead lights making everything feel sharp and unreal. The air still tasted of dust and victory. My legs started to shake, the adrenaline finally leaving my body and taking all my strength with it. I leaned back against the wall, afraid I might just slide to the floor. Darius watched me, his face etched with a matching exhaustion. The fight was over, and we were the only ones left on the battlefield. "It's Monday," he said, his voice quiet, almost a whisper. "The sun is coming up." He was right. Through a window at the far end of the hall, I could see the first pale pink streaks of dawn painting the sky. We had been in that box for a whole weekend. A lifetime. He looked at the folder I was still clutching like a shield. "Go home, Director Mills," he said, a small, tired smile touching his lips. "Your new office will be ready for you tomorrow." My heart did a little jump at the title. Director Mills. It didn't feel real. I nodded, my throat too tight to speak. He nodded back, a silent understanding passing between us. An entire library of unspoken words. Then he turned and walked away, his footsteps echoing in the empty hall, leaving me alone with a broken keychain and a brand new world. I found Mal sitting on a low bench near the main entrance of the building. The morning light was flooding the huge glass lobby, but she was tucked into a shadow, looking small and lost. She looked up as I approached, her eyes red and swollen. "I'm so sorry, Zora," she whispered as I sat down beside her. The words were cracked, broken. "I was so afraid for you. Afraid you were losing yourself. I thought I was protecting you, the way I always have." I looked at my friend, the one who had been my shield and my cheerleader for 2 years, the one who had seen me when I felt invisible. "I know," I said softly, and I did. I understood the fierce, misguided love that had made her do it. "But you were protecting someone who doesn't exist anymore." She flinched, the truth of my words hitting her. "I saw you up there," she said, her voice full of awe. "In the hallway. You were incredible."
I've never seen you like that.
I looked down at my hands, at the little spaceman clutched in my fist. "I've never been like that before," I admitted. "I think I was finally protecting myself." We sat in silence for a long time, the quiet hum of the building waking up around us. It wasn't the easy, comfortable silence we used to share. It was heavy with the things that had been broken, things that couldn't be perfectly fixed. "Can we be okay?" she asked, her voice trembling. I reached out and put my hand on hers. Her skin was cold. "We can be different," I said. "And that can be okay, too." It was the best I could offer. It was the truth. The Zora she had protected was gone. The Zora who stood in her place was someone new, someone who didn't need a protector. We would have to find a new way to be friends. She squeezed my hand, a silent thank you, and we watched the sun climb higher in the sky. The next day, I walked into the building not as a ghost, but as me. I wore a simple blue dress that made me feel strong, and I didn't look at the floor. My new office was on the 38th floor, 2 floors below the executive level. It had a clean wooden desk and a big window with a view of the city that made my stomach swoop. On the desk was a single file folder with a note on top, written in sharp, bold handwriting. Asterisk, let's get to work.
Teka, ismilat, areal, genuina smila.
I spent the day meeting with engineers and project managers, people whose names I had only seen in emails. They looked at me with curiosity, but they listened. They listened to my ideas, they challenged my numbers, and together, we started building. I was so busy, so focused, I almost didn't hear the knock on my door late in the afternoon. It was Darius. He wasn't wearing a suit, just dark pants and a crisp white shirt with the sleeves rolled up. He looked younger, more relaxed. More like the man in the elevator. "Got a minute?" he asked, leaning against the doorframe. I was about to head up for a preliminary chat with the finance committee. "Thought you might want to join." My stomach clenched with the old fear, but I pushed it down. "Okay," I said, my voice steady. "Let's go." We walked to the executive elevator, the same one. As we waited, I could feel my heart start to beat a little faster. The memory of the lurch, the darkness, was still fresh. The door slid open with a soft whoosh, revealing the polished wood and metal interior.
It looked so ordinary.
So harmless. For a second, I hesitated. Darius seemed to understand. He didn't say anything, just gave me a small, questioning look. I took a deep breath, met his gaze, and stepped inside. He followed, and the door slid shut, enclosing us once again in the small, quiet space. The car began to rise, smooth and silent this time. There was no terror, no awkwardness. There was just a comfortable quiet, thick with everything that had happened between these four walls. I leaned my head back against the cool wood, a strange sense of peace washing over me. We had been forged in this box. Walter resigned this morning, Darius said, his voice low. It wasn't triumphant.
It was just a fact.
Good, I said simply. It's time for new ideas. He looked at me, a soft light in his blue eyes. It is, he agreed. The elevator slowed. We were almost there. The board is still going to be a fight, Zora, he said, turning to face me. They agreed to fund the pilot program, but they'll be watching every move we make. They're waiting for us to fail. We won't, I said, the certainty of it settling deep in my bones. I wasn't afraid of them anymore. They were just numbers on a balance sheet. I knew how to make numbers sing. He reached out and gently took my hand. His fingers were warm and strong around mine. He wasn't holding my hand to steady me. He was holding it because he wanted to. No, he said, his thumb stroking my knuckles. We won't. He stepped a little closer, and the space between us disappeared. I could feel the warmth from his body, smell the clean, faint scent of his soap. I see you, Zora Mills, he whispered, and it felt like the most honest thing anyone had ever said to me. He lowered his head, and his lips met mine. It wasn't a desperate, movie-style kiss. It was quiet and soft, and full of unspoken promises. It was the taste of a new beginning, a partnership forged in darkness and now, finally, stepping into the light. The elevator chimed softly, signaling our arrival at the 41st floor. He pulled back slowly, his eyes searching mine. I smiled, a real, shaky, happy smile. I was still holding the little spaceman in my other hand, my fingers wrapped tightly around it. He was a part of this, too, a reminder of where it all started. The door slid open, revealing the long hallway to the boardroom. Together, we let go of each other's hands and stepped out of the elevator, ready to build the future. What did this story teach you about finding your own voice? Drop your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more stories that will change how you see the world.